at pickles.com. Well, hello, everyone. I'm Deborah Gardner, your host in our new studio as the #1 hospitality show. And as I mentioned in our show last week, the credit goes to you, our industry professionals that are watching while providing experiences in so many sectors within the hospitality profession each week. And also each week, we actually invite the most incredible people that work in industry to share their expertise, perspectives, stories, and lessons. So again, welcome to our new studio here at HTL. And today we have an extraordinary guest, one that I have admired for a long time. And I am so honored to have him here with us. David Bruce, the Executive Director for the Alliance of Independent Meeting Professionals. Now, David has received numerous rewards throughout his 45 years in the industry, both as a supplier and as a meeting professional. And he has dealt with all kinds of issues and challenges, yet knows the importance of our industry relationships. And I love how he brings his raw perspective on the present and the future of the meetings and events industry. So let's bring David in, and we're going to have a great, fun conversation. So here is David Bruce. Hi, David.
Hi, Deborah. How are you?
Oh, I'm so delighted to have you. Again, as you know, I admire you from afar for so long, and you have been very, very successful in this industry with, again, tons and tons of awards. And I'm just so happy to have you here. And how ironic that you are our 10th episode, and today is November 10th. Are we lucky? Should we go to Las Vegas or something?
At least somewhere. Let's go somewhere with it. Let's travel.
Yeah, exactly, right? Exactly. Well, I know we have a lot to cover today. And so what I'd like to find out first, and I know our viewers would as well, is can you tell us about the Alliance of Independent Meeting Professionals and the history behind it?
Well, certainly. 2.5 years ago, Marriott had decided to lower their commission from 10 to 7. And that sparked a uproar with the independent meeting world, to the point where we decided to open a association that deals with the independent planner and the issues that surround an independent planner in the business world, one of which being the commission issue. We started that May 1st of 18, and we have grown to be about $500 million in group rooms revenue in the 2 years that we've been involved.
Wow. Wow, that is huge. That is huge. And how many members do you have?
About 280 different member companies.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And
okay.
growing.
And
growing during the pandemic. We've added many during the pandemic, and will continue to grow, I'm sure.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Especially now, since everybody really needs one another and needs to support one another. What better way and place to go to than your association? So kudos to you for doing that, because it's been a much needed situation right now, the way everybody is feeling and things that are going on.
Oh, that's absolutely true. This association has morphed past the 7% issue and has gone into contracting issues that we all face as planners. Even back to the relationship building aspect of the hotelier/planner industry, getting away from the transactionalness that many hotel chains have started to go to. Our association has brought people back together.
Well, that is it. That is just very, very impressive. And I believe, again, it's a need, and everybody coming together to utilize the support and to do business with each other. That's incredible, those numbers that you gave us. And you being in the industry for so long, longer than me. I mean, I thought I was in it for 30 years. You're even longer. What better person to head this up, and with all full respect and honor for everybody to know who you are. And I'm just pleased to have known you all these years as well. And although you have been on both sides, the supplier and the planner side of it, you see a lot of challenges today, don't you? And what do you consider, you know, you've been through this before. This is not your first rodeo, and there's a lot of challenges, but what are the true challenges people are facing?
Well, this is one heck of a rodeo that we're all going through right now. But you're right. You know, the fact is that we have to build. We have to go back to what worked years ago, and that is relationship selling, relationship buying. Because the hotels have changed so much. Hotels that had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of employees now may have 30 or 40 employees. And they're not the hotel that they were prior to the pandemic. This brings up a point that is odd for many of us. You know, we see some of the greatest hotels in the country not being who they were 6, 8, 10 months ago. So that is going to be something that we all have to deal with as we move forward. And also the properties that have had to close, that may never come back. Or if they do come back, they'll be under a different heading, or they'll be under an independent organization. That's going to be different for a lot of us, and we've got a lot of work to do in that area.
Yeah, and I have to agree with you on that. We're not going to go back. You know, a lot of people think, what is the new norm? I call it the now norm, because we're working on this and dealing with this minute by minute, day by day. And there's a lot of people out there that, you know, say, Deborah, what do you think the future is going to look like? Well, for the first time in my career, I don't know what the future looks like at this point. We're just trying to deal with it day by day, minute by minute. But like you said, there are going to be a lot of changes. There's going to be a lot of mergers. There's going to be a lot of different positions, because now that majority, you know, a lot of our industry peeps are being furloughed or laid off. Many of them are leaving the industry, but then many of them are trying something new and different in the industry. So we might not have the same clients. We might not have the same relationships at that hotel, like you mentioned. It's going to be a mixed bag of different people. And because of that, everybody's going to have to come together and retrain themselves and reassociate themselves with what it's going to be like at that time, right?
Well, you hit it right on the head. You know, being that I've been in this business as long as I have, I know a lot of the people at property level, at corporate level. A lot of those people are gone now.
Yeah.
Hotels that have had staffs that, you know, that have had the same director of sales or the same sales managers for 10, 15, 20 years. Now they're down to a skeleton crew of maybe 2 or 3, or 1 in some cases.
Right.
They're not the same people we've dealt with.
Right.
So we need to rebuild those relationships that we've now lost with that property. I was speaking with a GM just yesterday, and I said, you know, the property that he had come from, I don't know a soul anymore. I used to be a top level client in that hotel. But after all of this has gone through, I don't know anyone there. And they don't know me as a client.
Right.
So we've got to go back to basics and rebuild those relationships. And I keep saying the word relationship because that's what's going to get us through this.
And I believe exactly what you're saying, because the industry has always been, the industry leaders in their world and the industry professionals in their world. I always felt that there was like this separate type of profession going on. But the good thing about the pandemic is that it has put us all in the same world. So like you said, those relationships are going to have to be rebuilt. Everybody is going to have to, relearn. Like you said, the GM, I know a GM that's working at the front desk. He's cleaning rooms now. So it's like cross-training for everybody at this point. So that's the positive part of the pandemic, is that everybody's going to have to come together under this world. And I believe it will. Don't you, David?
I have a good friend in California who's director of sales, who's now a pool boy, and loving it because he's out in the sun all day. So he's having a great time. But that's where we all have to work together, and
Yes.
we have to understand each other's needs and work within that, and that changes the dynamic of the last 10 years, which has been a seller's market.
Right.
It's not a seller's market. Unfortunately, it's not a buyer's market. And so it is a market where we have to work and understand each other's needs and concepts to be able to put something together that works well for the end user client.
Right.
And I'm speaking as an independent planner at this point, on that point. But
and speaking on the independent planner side of it, I believe they really have had it rough. All the commission status, where are we in the terms with the 7% issue that they have to deal with over the last 2 years? They've had, more more challenges on top of the pandemic as well, because they've been, struggling and trying to stay within the game of the industry.
Well, we fought the battle on the 7% for a couple of years and continue to fight that battle every single day. But as I say today, we're looking at hotels that are offering 7%, and our people are trying to put food on their table.
Right.
So the more properties that can understand that concept and return back to a 10, or in some cases plus 10 concept, will help that independent planner move forward. That will help the hotel in putting people in their property for a particular period of time. It's a win-win at this point to go back to a 10 and help everyone out and build back what was destroyed in the last 2 years, when much of that was agreed situation in my eyes. There's no room here for greed at this point. We have to get together, and I can't blame my members in looking at properties that are paying 10 or more to help their own families at this point.
Sure.
Which is really the key. Many have lost hundreds, if not millions of dollars in income over the past 8 months.
Right. And I believe that as an ex-hoteler, there was that greed involved, cutting out commissions of third parties instead of looking for a solution to continue to work together, because the ultimate goal here is to make sure that the client, the customer, feels good about the working relationship between the independent planner and the hotelers and any other type of venues and services out there. So what are the ideas? What is everybody talking about in order to get this, to get going with working together and making sure that commissions are not just looked at as commissions, it's looked at as a working partnership.
Well, I think you've hit it on the head. And you know, our side, the independent planner is not without fault here. You know, we contact far too many hotels. You know, we really dig into this far differently than we should. We need to build those relationships also. But I believe there's 4 points that really make sense. And the first one is education. We need to educate the properties in what our needs are as independent planners. The hotels need to educate themselves and think, how does this affect the independent planner? How does this bid going to help that independent planner present our property in a good light to their client? And many hoteliers don't believe that we're their clients as independents. And our client, the end user, is our client. So we're loaning that client to a particular property for the period of time of that meeting. So we need to really work with the properties to educate them on our needs. And in turn, we need, as independent planners, to educate our clients as to what the changing environment is as far as meetings go, and how we can help them put on a successful conference in a hotel. We have talked to many of our members about the meetings that they have had over the past 3, 4, 5 months. And in very few cases, with all the safeguards that we've put in, have had an outbreak of COVID post-conference. And that's important to let our clients know that they can move forward, that they can be safe. And then that information, you know, gives us the opportunity to work with them on any future meetings that they may want to put on. You know, yes, it can be scary, but if done right, we can bring people to the properties. And certainly, I think Connect's meeting down in Florida, which was many weeks ago now, and the way they handled it down there was a great example of it being done right. Certainly, the Las Vegas area has been the forefront of how to put together programs that are going to make it safe for people. And this is what we have to get across to our clients, because right now, everyone's running scared. They're hiding under the blanket, if you will. Right. And have to get them out underneath that blanket and start to move forward.
Right. And Sheriff with the PCMA organization, I love what he said before in a webinar this summer. He said, we're not rushing to get back to meetings, we're rushing to educate, because we really need to educate ourselves in order to put on great meetings and events. So you're spot on with that. What else, David? What else do we need to do?
We need to be able to inform our clients from that point, take the information that we have and build a good bid. You know, work with the hotels to give us the safety and security that they are all offering today, and put together a contract that gives our clients the comfort level that's necessary to be able to move forward. You know, if you've got a tough property who is making it difficult from a force majeure situation to book a meeting, then at this point, I recommend to my clients, don't sign it. Find the hotel that gives you that freedom to be able to try to move forward, especially if we're talking the first half of next year. I mean, I cannot believe, and I can say honestly, in March of this year, I would not have bet that we were going to be still dealing with this in November, December. And now I'm thinking, well, maybe we're going to be dealing with this through June or July of next year. So we have to work with everybody. We have to inform the client as to what we have found from a safety security, from a contracting standpoint, from an overall look to the future, and be able to give them information that allows them to move forward. You know, we've had some great information come out this week with Pfizer saying that they have a shot that is 90% effective, that they're going to be looking to institute in the next couple of months. You actually have to take 2 shots over a 30-day period. But that is exciting news to hear that. The information that Eli Lilly came out with this week that talks about if you do get the virus, that they have shots that now will make that virus far less intrusive to the human than previous. These are great steps for us to move forward, and certainly are going to be the information we need as a industry to be able to turn the switch back on. So we have to inform our clients of the realities of what we're seeing, and not what comes on the newspaper headlines, because we're the only ones, we're the professionals. We have sat through all of this. We've heard the data. Now we have to work together to be able to get that data out to our clients and give them the freedom to be able to step forward.
Perfect. I like that, because, you know, we think that we're in the business of meetings and events. Well, today I think we're in the business of reality, the reality. And if we keep thinking, like you said, to, you know, inform one another, the transparencies, the truth of what's really going on right now, we are in the business of reality, and that's where Inform comes into play.
And we have to work with the hotels. You know, the hotels are hurting. They have bottom lines just like everyone else. We need to work with them to put together programs that and communicate with the properties. Most importantly, we have to communicate with these hotels and give them that information that we know as we move forward. If we see that the program isn't picking up the way we had hoped, we need to be able to communicate that with the properties so that they can use that space in another forum for another meeting if necessary. And I believe if we all work together, you know, put away the us versus them that has been built over the last 2 years, and understand that the only way we're going to move forward is to be able to work as a team. The end user client, the independent planner, the hotelier. God, I sound like Biden right now. But that being said, the fact is we've got to work together. And the only way all three parts can win is if no one tries to take the upper hand of the other. And I believe we can do that. I believe that our association is working with great hotels and great hotel companies, Omni, Lowe's, Hilton, Hyatt, Radisson, on what is the next step. What's the next step we can take to communicate with the property to get the right information out to the public. And I think that's the paramount point that we have to make moving forward.
Right, and I think communication needs to be raw. It needs to be transparent. It needs to be, proactive. In other words, instead of waiting for other people to connect with you, I think this is the time to reach out and to ask the questions. What are you challenged with? How can we help? What is it going to take to partner now? Why wait till the future? Maybe there's something that can be, brought to the surface, even if it's baby steps, to try to work together, because it's all about trying to move things forward. And we can do that. We don't have to be 6 feet apart. We don't have to wear a mask. We can do this, over Zoom. We can do this over, like here, StreamYard. We can do things, but instead of just stopping in our tracks. So I think now is the time for all of us to get up off the couch and start connecting and communicating, like you said.
Well, we just had a conference in Nashville at the Lowe's Vanderbilt, which was a huge success. We had all the right PPP involved. We had bracelets on green if you don't mind being touched. Yellow if you can get close. Red, stay away from us. And it was a great success. And it also took the bureaus getting involved and telling us what we can do in that particular city.
Sure.
We can all the wants in the world and wanting to do a big meeting in LA today. But if we're not able to do so because of local or state reasons, then we need somebody telling us that.
Right, exactly.
So that we can move through that and make those decisions.
Right.
We had a lot of help from the Nashville CVB. They kept us involved all the way through the process. Certainly, other cities do that very well. And again, it's all part of communication.
Correct.
We all have to work together to make sure that this is going to work. Step 1, 2, 3 process.
Right. And what I love about the meetings and events industry right now, besides the protocol, there are no rules. It's like you can be as creative, outside the box as you want to be. Like you mentioned, the different color bands. Why not? Start utilizing something that you've always had in the back of your mind that you wanted to do. Hey, everyone in the industry has permission now to utilize their creativity.
I know I didn't think I'd ever live to see a GM come down and thank me for having 25 people in a room and 600 people on a Zoom call during the meeting. But we got to switch that. Hybrid has been around for years, and I believe very heavily in hybrid, but we have to get people back on property. Yep. And to do that, we have to give them the safety and security feeling that they can be there and be safe and walk away and not infect their families going home.
Right.
Be sure that they get the right information when they're at the meeting that helps them in their particular association or business. We have to continue to build that. And as much as Zoom type calls are important, the implementation of the meeting itself has to be flawless. It has to be safe and has to be something that the takeaway is it worked and you're safe going back and you can give the information that you got in outside of the Zoom call, if you will. As much as our meeting was very good, had great speakers, had the governor of Tennessee on it, it still just didn't feel right because there wasn't the electricity that was in the room normally. And I believe we have to get back to that. So we have to work with the hotels to give us all the right tools that we can pass on to the clients so that they can put together the information necessary for their people to feel comfortable in coming. You've got airlines like Delta at this point who are not filling the middle seat and making it that much safer for the traveling public. So implementation is the fourth major point we have to deal with in going forward with these conferences. And then once we get this information from doing a good conference, from seeing that it didn't cause a major uproar, getting that out to the other clients so they feel more comfortable. We've got to break that cycle that's out there right now. That traveling is the devil. Okay, traveling is not the devil. It's right.
Right. Well, this is good stuff. And as a matter of fact, we have a ton of people that have some comments and questions for you. So I'd like to shift gears and go to that because obviously they know your brilliancy and your expertise and experience in this industry, and they want a little bit of a David Bruce here. And those that have probably have joined us, yes, that's who we're with. We're with David Bruce, the Alliance of Independent Meeting Professionals. So thank you so much for joining us. So we've got some great comments. Let's go through some of these for you. First of all, we've got your good friend David Kilman that wants to give you some smiles, which, by the way, we're going to have David on the show here next month. So I know a lot of people will be, paying attention and tuning in for that as well. We've got somebody from, Carla, who says greetings from San Mateo County CVB that wants to say hello. And we've got, Denise. Denise is saying hi, David, to you. And let's see, we've got, oh my gosh, we've got so many great stuff here. We've got Bob, who says the experience level of hotelers will look to independent planners for guidance. I think that's a great comment because the experience level of hotelers, they need some help as well. I mean, we all do. What do you think about that, David?
Well, unfortunately, over the last 6-8 months, we've lost some of the most experienced hoteliers at property level due to their salaries and such, and hotels deciding that at this point they don't need that high salary on property. So we've lost a lot of those people and have left some of the more less seasoned, if you will, sales reps that are out there.
Right.
And certainly Bob makes a great point here in saying they may not have the experience level that some of us that have been around this industry for as many years as we have,
right.
To understand the bigger picture, that it's not just about their hotel, if you will, but it's about getting us going again. You know, the rev manager is just not really very important in this process at this point. You know, what we need is people who are traveling and who are going to fill heads and beds. And I think we can help if we work as a team,
Sure.
user, hotelier, third party, working together, we can make it successful for all three parts of the process.
Right, and Bob's got that right. Well, speaking of revenue management, Lynn Wellish has a great question. David, what is the new time of revenue management in deciding for a piece of business that's going to actually fit? What do you think is some of the things that they have to look for?
Well, we have to have the right piece to be able, Lynn, we have to have the right piece to be able to offer that to our clients. So we don't have more time than we had before. We still have the same time limits that are set by our clients to us to get their information back to them. So we don't have extra time because the market has fallen apart. We still need to move forward in an expeditious period of time. So rev management, although, I mean, I still get bids today that are saying rooms to space ratio. Really?
That's old.
I 5 people in a room that hold 400 people.
Yeah.
So where's the rooms to space ratio? The fact is we need to get the bids in a timely manner that are more designed for what we're asking for versus let's get it off our desk and send it to the independent. It needs to have more thought than ever before. It needs to have more information than ever before.
Right.
Versus getting it to us quick. We still need it quick, but we need that information to be geared more toward that particular piece of business versus a standard answer that we're used to, that we've seen for the last 12 years.
Right.
Not all bids are the same.
Exactly. And if you're seeing, 50 RFPs going out or coming in, something's wrong there. We need to really slow down to speed up, take the care and the effort to make sure that it is an actual right fit instead of trying to whisk it off your desk or put it in the books. I totally agree.
You're probably not seeing 50 RFPs coming in right now. You may only seen 1 or 2. So take the time in that RFP process and put together a thoughtful bid that covers all the points that client is asking for instead of just trying to get it off your desk.
Right. And offline, you and I talked about Las Vegas being so reactive. Well, look what's happening right now. They're having to really up their sales skills in order to participate. It's very competitive out there right now. And I love what Carla said here. It's all about, going back to the basics. And she remembers the days of the 90s. I miss those times, she says. It's because hoteliers were so used to getting the business. They felt it was a transaction versus a relationship building. Carla, you are so right. Right, David?
Well, yes, ma'am. Carla, you couldn't say it better. Something that I say all the time, and Bob Schuster also says all the time, and that is we've got to get back to doing it the way we did it back in the old days. Hoteliers need to be proactive, not reactive. Bureaus need to be proactive, not reactive. And they need to understand that, we're not trying to pull, us versus them. We're not trying to say that it's a buyer's market and you're going to do what we want. I don't want that. I don't think any hotelier or any independent really wants that. What we want is a spirit of cooperation and to understand what we're all dealing with, and stop playing hardball.
Correct.
And let's get back to working together for the betterment of the client. If the client is taken care of, the client will take care of you. And instead of saying say yes before no versus saying yes and what are you going to do for me? I mean, that's what we need to get back to. And a lot of the less seasoned salespeople just have never had to deal with that.
Right.
If they've been around as not 10, 12, 14 years, if they've only been selling for that period of time, they've been selling in a time where Cvent has sent them 20 leads in a day.
Right.
Okay. Now you get 20 in 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks, if you're really lucky in some cases. Some less than that. So you've got to take every lead you get and maximize the quality of what that is. And it's true that some corporations are not allowing travel at this point. I mean, they're not. So that means that all you're dealing with are sports groups and religious and associations that are going to start that process. So it's even more important to do it right each and every time.
Yeah, definitely. And I love what Lisa had to say here as well. Do you think that might be the case again as we move away from COVID restraints? If the people on both sides have changed, wouldn't trust need to be built again to build these relationships and move from those transactional, type of mindsets?
You couldn't be more right. I always say to hoteliers, and I say in my own Zoom meetings for our association, I do business with people I trust.
Right.
And if I don't trust you or your hotel, then I'm not going to bring you that piece of business, because if that hotel does not perform up to quality, then that hotel does not get that group back. But I may lose that client for 40 meetings or 30 meetings because I put my name on that piece of business. And, a lot of 4 and 5 star hotels out there that honestly are not 4 or 5 star hotels right now. How could they be if they're running 45 employees on a property of 350 rooms?
Right.
I mean, they don't have the people to be able to have that quality. They may have a beautiful facility, but it's not running the way it used to run.
No, not at all.
Not for quite some time, to Lisa's point. It's going to take a long time to rebuild everything, and relationships will get you through this process.
Absolutely. That's very true. Now, I want to, to close out the show, I want to move on to something that I know everybody really wants to know your input on, and that has to do with virtual versus face-to-face. But to all your points that you mentioned and everybody else's points, I love what Moran, I hope I'm saying her name right, Moraman. We need to find the perfect win-win situation, building relationships, learning the needs of both parties, delivering and meeting the expectations of your client is key for achieving that win-win goal. She is so right, isn't she?
Well, she better be. She's one of my clients. Miriam, thank you. I agree. You've learned well, my dear. The fact is, it is all about the win-win, and no party is in control right now. We all have to work together. And when it comes to virtual, virtual is a wonderful product, but I get over 30 requests a day to do a virtual city tour, do a virtual hotel tour, do a virtual call like this. If I did all of those, I'd never leave this chair. And although it has filled a gap, and I'm talking mostly the virtual city tours and the virtual hotel tours, it has filled a gap in this strange time we're in. It isn't the end all be all. And I don't believe that the ROI, although probably not bad right now, will continue over time. You still need to get those people to the property so they can touch and feel and experience the ambiance of what that property is, see how the staff acts. There are many times I go on property, and while I'm walking around, I find something that is either disturbing or highly enjoyable. And I want to pass that on to my team. And I believe that as we start to move into 2021, we need to start getting back to showing up on property, seeing the properties for ourselves, experience how the GM comes out and communicates with our client, and see how the entire team works together instead of a scripted process like a Zoom call virtual show of a property.
So do you feel that face-to-face is definitely more important? As a matter of fact, I think about 83% of people that work at home would rather be in an in-person event or meeting. There's no doubt about it. But what really is going to happen to virtual?
I think you'll go into a hybrid situation, which I've had clients for years do hybrid. I don't believe that virtual is going to be the end-all be-all of meetings. And if it is, then a lot of us are going to be out of business.
Right.
Virtual is not profitable for the most part for most independent planners. It just isn't. And I don't believe the ROI for a client is as good from a virtual standpoint as it is for a on-site standpoint. It's my belief that we'll just move to more of a hybrid process for those who just will not go to that meeting for whatever reason, can enjoy the quality of what's being presented. But the thought is, let's get the rest of the people back on property,
right,
and build that energy again that property is going to be missing by the way we do it right now. So I like hybrid. I mean, I've been doing hybrid meetings for years, and there's a lot of positive to it. Now we have a lot more platforms to make that work.
Right,
but it doesn't it takes away from the energy that meeting can have, and those one-on-one conversations that are being done outside of the meeting space that you can't pick up in a virtual standpoint.
Right. And then you create that FOMO. So I totally agree with you. There's 100%, no doubt. Now, and in order to do this, as you mentioned earlier, your 4 points were educate, inform, communicate, and implement. And I've got a couple of questions here from our viewers for you about the number 4, which was to implement this. One came from Lisa Raymond, who said, after the implementation phase, should feedback be collected to learn how people are reacting to the event and their comfort level for attending?
Sure. And I think I said that. I said, we've got to take that information that we have from a good meeting and be able to use that information to educate our other clients as to how to move forward. Okay, so it's a circular type of effect, if you will. So when you're done implementing the meeting and everything turns out weeks later, you do your survey, find out that yes, nobody got sick, everything turned out right. Well, we can use that information, and we do in our own association, and give that to our members to be able to say, hey, we did a meeting in this hotel, this city, whatever it may be, and it turned out okay. Okay. So we can start to give them the information, and the more data we can give our clients, the safer they're going to feel in moving forward. So it's just, the more you do, the better it turns out, the better it turns out, the more you do, and then we work our way back.
Right. And Ann King had a very similar question, but her situation is a little bit different. I've been sharing the EIC protocols with the classroom venue we use and the caterer, but I don't have final say in what is implemented. How can I have more influence on compliance?
You're going to have to work with the team that you've got to push them into making sure that they're passing along your needs and your wants to the team that is implementing your program. I think that's where having, a strong planner involved in this portion of it, that can stay on top of it, is very, very important, versus someone who may be a site selection planner and not really involved in the day-to-day portion of the meeting. I think that's where staying on top of your purveyors are going to be very, very important moving forward.
Yeah, and gosh, there are just so many other questions here too, but that the action part of it is very, very important, and to be on top of it, again, it gets back to educating, informing, and communicating are very important. So those 4 steps, I can understand where that could be very, very important. So the other questions that we have, and I know we're kind of going back and forth a little bit but I'm looking at all these comments coming in, and I want to make sure I get everybody in. One of them, Marin actually said was, yeah, virtual takes more energy than face-to-face. She's so right. She is so right. And because it does when you're not with each other. And Lisa actually says, I hear you. I get more nervous in virtual than face-to-face depending on the meeting. So virtual, people are still uncomfortable with it, even though we've had a crash course on it. People are uncomfortable with it, but we're used to years and years of face-to-face, so that's typical to have that uncomfortable feeling, right?
Oh, Miriam's a great planner, and she's done this for a lot of years. And the fact is that's our comfort zone, is doing it on property. To do a meeting virtually and get the same energy level as you would a meeting in a hotel is far more difficult than you can get the data out there. But how many people are reaching up and shutting you off and walking away? That's the key, and that's what I'm trying to show. The fact is are they really sitting there? Are they really listening? Are they really experiencing what you're trying to get across? And I don't believe that's a win-win for the association or corporation, because it's too easy to walk away from it.
Yeah, and I think that we need to make sure that no matter what decisions we make, whether it's virtual, face-to-face, educating each other, implementing, we need to really take a look and strategize all of this, right? We need to re-strategize all of our business models, because what we've done in the past is not, what's going to necessarily work in the future or even today. So taking a look at your overall business model, whether you're on the planning side or the hotel side, it's okay to do other and new things out there. So I think that everybody is just trying to search for solutions and answers, but I think bottom line, it's within them. And if they have that creative mind and they're ready to explode, to try something new and different, something completely outside the box, it'll work for them.
Very true.
Yeah, so why not? Well, there was one other comment that I probably would have loved to have asked at the start of the show, but I wanted to make sure we don't pass on this. And this is from Lisa again. Lisa is one of our usual viewers. She said, with all the experience in dealing with crisis like COVID, how have you been feeling during this time?
Well, it depends which hour. As a planner who has lost hundreds of thousands of dollars this year and probably will lose hundreds of thousands of dollars next year, I have this little corner over here that I would like to climb into and throw a blanket over my head and hide. Unfortunately, I run an association, or fortunately, I run an association of people who have had to sit in the corner and hide. So I don't have the ability to do so. I have to be able to figure out how we're going to get through and move forward out of this.
Right.
So unfortunately, I don't have the time to go sit and cry in the corner. And believe me, there are times where I would love to, but it's my job to figure out how we're going to fix this, if you will, as best we can. I've lived through a lot. I've been in this business as an independent 34 years. So I've seen major stock crashes. I've seen 9/11. I've seen 2008. But this is different. And this affects everyone. So the key is we have to work together. We have to work with the headquarters to make sure that they understand our needs and develop strategies that help not only them get more business, but us be able to stay in business by helping our client. And then our clients need to get something out of it too, of course.
Right. But I think the bottom line here is nobody's alone through this. Everybody is feeling vulnerable. The depression, we've talked about that in our previous shows, that everybody is going through a lot of anxiety and differences. It's just that everybody needs to know they're not alone. It's just a matter of how you're going to implement your energies, your thought process and strategies. So leaving today, boy, we're running out of time so quickly, but I wanted to ask you one question in just a few little words. What is the one advice that you would like to share with our industry?
Run. No. Keep an open mind.
Okay.
Both sides of the table, all sides of the table. We all have to work together.
Yeah, we do.
I mean, it's not the Republicans and Democrats anymore. It's us working together for each other's benefit. And we really have to do that more than anything.
Yeah, I agree with you. Keep an open mind.
And run. Then run.
Run for the hills or run. I love your humor, David. I love your humor. And we've got some other people that just wanted to say thank you to you and to the show here, that's no doubt. And we even have Randall, who actually says, congratulations to the new studio office here, because David, Bruce, you are our first one here in the new studio, and can't thank you enough for being here with us. Again, we can just go on for another hour with you. So thank you. Thank you. It was such a complete honor to finally have an opportunity to have this conversation with you and while sharing it with our viewers on HTL.
Thank you so much for having me, and I certainly appreciate it. Deborah, you're great, and you've put together a great program here.
Oh, it's been a lot of fun, and I just wanted to let everybody to know where they actually can contact you at the same time.
Very good.
Here it is, your email address, david.bruce@independentmeetingprofessionals.com, or you can actually go to his website as well. So anybody that would like to continue to talk with David or have additional questions, I've never seen such a flood of comments and questions on a show before. So you're very, very popular. If anybody wants to get in touch with him, I'm sure he would be delighted to answer any questions. So thank you again, David.
All right.
You bet. Well, thank you so much again for joining us here on this show's episode with David Bruce, the Executive Director for the Alliance of Independent Meeting Professionals. I certainly appreciate his knowledge, his expertise about getting back to face-to-face, which is extremely important. And there's nobody else that understands that than everybody here in this industry. But if you want to see this episode again or want to share it with others, by all means, go to our YouTube channel or the Hospitality Today Facebook page. And if you have any questions or would like to be on the show or sponsor the show like pickles.com did today, well, just know that you can contact us at hello@hospitalitytoday.com. But if anything, join our online community for more upcoming shows and resources. Speaking of our next show, we will have John Chan, the author of his new book, Engaging Virtual Meetings. He will share how to solve Zoom fatigue, and don't we all go through that right now? And also the 6-step engagement method and how to get quiet people to participate and turn their cameras on. Now that is going to be a fun conversation. So don't miss next Tuesday's show right here on HTL. I'm Deborah Gardner. Thank you for joining us, and especially in our new studio. Have a productively busy and successful week, everybody.